Hello and welcome to the Federal. The Congress Party announced or launched its manifesto for the Lok Sabha elections of 2024 today. This manifesto has been drafted by a committee headed by former Union Minister P. Chidambaram. The committee had been formed in December by Congress President Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge. And the basic from what we were told, the basic brief that was given to this committee was that the party wants a manifesto that is not prepared in the drawing rooms of politicians, of party members in Delhi, but prepared after vast consultations, extensive consultations with the public, directly with common people. That is what the Congress says it has done. It had also launched a website in December where people could write in with their suggestions on what they would want to see in a manifesto of any political party going into the Lok Sabha elections. Over the last few weeks, several of what of the promises that are part of this manifesto have already been declared by the party because remember, former Congress President Mr. Rahul Gandhi had been on a Manipur to Maharashtra Bharat Jodo Nyay Patra. And as part of that Nyay Patra, the party, particularly over the last couple of weeks of it, the Yatra concluded on the 17th of March. And in the fortnight preceding the conclusion of the Yatra in Bombay, the committee, the Congress leadership, Mr. Kharge, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, had been making various announcements which they called Congress's guarantees to the people. There were 5 pillars of what Rahul described as 5 pillars of justice, or what the party has coined as Panch Nyay. Now, these 5 pillars are are basically pillars of justice, as the party calls them, on the issues of hissedari, which is your participation, nari, women, yuva, the youth, shramik, as in the labor force, and the manifesto also has been called the Nyay Patra. And so a statement or a manifesto for justice. Today, when the manifesto was launched, of course, those promises which were made during the Nyay Yatra have been reiterated. Now, what were these promises? I'll briefly recap them. There are 5 different heads, as I said. Under these 5 different heads, there are 5 guarantees each, which the Congress has announced. So there are 25 of them. So I'm not going to go into the details of all 25. But for farmers, which is Kisan, so Kisan Nyay, the party has been talking about giving a legal guarantee, a legal sanctity, a legal backing to MSP, the minimum support price. This has been a long pending demand of the farmers, particularly after the 3 farm laws that were initially brought by the Modi government and then had to be repealed because of the protests that we saw, by farmers, particularly from Haryana, Punjab, parts of, and pockets of UP. There's the issue of unemployment that has been dealt with extensively in this manifesto. And again, as part of Yuva Nyay, the justice for youth, the party had announced during the Bharat Jodo Yatra and has reiterated in this manifesto that it would instantly try, if at all it comes to power, it would try to fill 30 lakh vacancies. They've done a calculation. They say that there are 30 lakh vacancies in government jobs, and those vacancies will be filled. So you instantly have a a sort of bank of 30 lakh jobs that's available. Unemployment has been an issue that Rahul Gandhi and the Congress and the wider opposition has been raising constantly and criticizing the Modi government for not addressing those concerns. So that is another issue. There's also the promise of a right to apprenticeship. So this is more to do with skill development and creating employment avenues for people. The party says that they're going to ensure there is a law for apprenticeship. There is already an existing framework for it, which is rarely ever implemented. The government, the Congress has said that they're going to ensure that that happens, and a 1 lakh, roughly 1 lakh per annum apprenticeship amount. So if you break it into per month, about an 8,000 to 8,500 rupees per month stipend under the Right to Apprenticeship Act would be provided to people who are enrolled, who become beneficiaries of the Right to Apprenticeship Act. And then there are similarly, as I said, 25 of such guarantees that the party has announced. But this manifesto goes beyond those 25 guarantees. And there are some interesting promises that the Congress has made. If it comes to power, it says these are the promises that it's going to fulfill. If you go by what the Congress has been saying about the Modi government over the last few years, some of these promises may be predictable in terms of, when you correlate them with the party's pitch. So one of the things that the Congress has been constantly saying over the last 10 years of the government is the weakening of constitutional institutions. They've, under the Modi regime, the assaults on the federal structure. And so there is an entire chapter or a section in the manifesto that deals with challenges of federalism and how the Congress wishes to or plans to address these issues if it comes to power. One of the issues that it lists in the manifesto on the challenges of federalism is that it's going to review the distribution of the legislative fields in the 3 lists that are mentioned in the Constitution, the central, the state, and the concurrent list, and particularly list 2, which is the concurrent list, and list 3, which is the concurrent list, and list 2, which is the state list, because the Congress has constantly been saying that a lot of issues where the states have been given a right by the Constitution to legislate, those matters have been impinged by the Modi government. And so there has been an assault on federalism. That is something that the Congress says it's going to review and ensure that it doesn't happen. It's talked about granting statehood to Pondicherry. It's talked about making amendments to the to the act that governs Delhi, which is a special category, union territory, because it's neither a full state nor a union territory. And that has created over the years a complex web of problems of its own. It's talked about, remember the whole controversy about the bifurcation of Jammu and Kashmir, and then creating J&K as a union territory and Ladakh as a separate union territory, both with separate, meanings to them. Ladakh as a union territory without an assembly, J&K as a union territory with an assembly. So the Congress manifesto reiterates that it's going to ensure that Ladakh is brought under the 6th schedule, which means it's going to get certain special rights, and J&K is granted statehood again. Full statehood is what it promises. So on federalism, there are a number of promises. There are some fairly interesting issues that the manifesto brings in. One of the key sort of achievements that the Modi government has been talking about, especially over the last 6 months, is the passage of the Women's Reservation Bill, something that had been languishing for a very long time. And it had met with instant criticism because it had a very indeterminate timeline. And so the Congress manifesto says that with regard to the Women's Reservation Bill as it exists today, they're going to make changes to that if the Congress or a Congress-led coalition comes to power. It says that the Congress will delete sinister provisions and bring the the amended act into force immediately. 1/3 reservation for women will be applied to state assemblies, and that will be elected in the next round of assembly elections in 2025. The calculation as of now with the currently passed or in it's one can't really say it's in effect, but the bill that was passed by Parliament was, most people agreed that by the time this reservation kicks in, it'll be 2029, 2030, or it's only after that that women's reservation will become a reality. The Congress says it's going to remove provisions that brought in that reservation post 2029 and ensure that it happens from 2025 itself. There are also promises, extensive promises that the party makes on the issue of education, giving free mobile phones and free internet to students of classes 11 and 12. It talks about setting up of Ambedkar libraries in every district. It also, importantly, talks about a one-time measure of relief given the high rates of unemployment and widespread unemployment. It talks about a one-time measure of relief on student loans, on writing off student loans. So it says the amount due, including unpaid interest, as on March 15, 2024, in respect of all student education loans will be written off and the banks will be compensated by the government. This is a very key, very important poll promise that the Congress has made in this manifesto. It's something that it hadn't spoken of so far. There are also a few misfires here, or what some people in the wider India bloc may express their discomfiture with. The first thing is that the Congress had been very critical of the CAA, but the manifesto does not mention that if it comes to power, whether it would repeal the CAA, the Citizenship Amendment Act, whether it would bring changes to the Citizenship Amendment Act to make it more secular, because as of now, it excludes Muslims who've come in from the purview of who can get citizenship. The left parties, of course, in Kerala, in Bengal, have made this a major issue. Trinamool Congress has made this a major issue, the anti-CAA plank. But the Congress has skipped any mention of it in the manifesto. We're told it's because it's a matter that is sub judice, and the Congress did not want to make a promise on something that was sub judice, because tomorrow, if the Supreme Court upholds the CAA as is, the way in which any government may be able to change it will also change. Whether you can bring in an ordinance, what is the scope of it, etc. So the Congress has skipped any mention of the CAA, but the other major omission is the old pension scheme. Remember, over the last few years, any state that has gone to polls, the Congress has very prominently promised that it's going to replace the new pension scheme, which was brought in by the Modi government, with the old pension scheme, because the old pension scheme, as per the Congress, gives much more social security to pensioners and to people. But then, strangely, it's while several state governments, or governments where the Congress had come to power or is no longer in power now, but Rajasthan, for example, where it had made this announcement before going to polls in December and had also started the procedure of implementing the OPS, but then the elections happened and the Congress lost power there. So these, like Telangana, Karnataka, Himachal, where the Congress is currently in power, there's already work happening on bringing back OPS. The manifesto, strangely, is silent on it. Mr. Chidambaram today was asked when the manifesto was released why the Congress does not want to do it at a national level. And his explanation was that the center has already set up a review of the new pension scheme and wants to bring in, to study the feasibility of whether features of the old pension scheme can be brought into the new pension scheme also. In a sense, the Congress has claimed moral victory on the issue of the pension scheme. It would want to claim that the government has had a relook at NPS only because of the Congress's stand on the issue. And so Mr. Chidambaram said that unless the government finishes that review, until the government finishes that review of the NPS, it wouldn't be proper for the party to make a poll promise on the issue of OPS. So there are several such promises here. This is the first of the national parties. This is the first manifesto that we have so far. The election, the 7-phase Lok Sabha election is going to start on the 19th of April. Let's see what the BJP comes up with. The BJP so far has been talking about Modi ki guarantees, whether Modi ki guarantees prevail over the Congress's guarantees and the Congress's pitch for Nyay, or whether the Congress's Nyay pitch is able to derail what looks currently like an invincible BJP. We'll know that. And stay tuned to the Federal. We'll talk about the BJP manifesto when it comes.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more news and updates.